Well, howdy partners, welcome back. We've got a few bicycle head stem rings to put on to accurately space out we've got to put some spacers in on the top or on the bottom depending on how high you want the stem, and that will lock in the whole headset bearing assembly. So let's get to that. Okay, so well, in the locking part of how the handlebars stay onto the forks are controlled by undoing these two Allen keys, and that slides up and down this head tube. So we'll undo those and we'll lock this into place, and we'll put a little spacer on there where it needs to go. Basically, we might remove this whole thing up and put the spacer underneath so that it actually has this as the final look on top of this. It'll look a lot better, I think. Cool. Okay, let's do that. Get some Allen keys out. Should have prepared this earlier, but that's all right. Nowhere else to go. All in here, of course. Number 4. And as I undo these, the whole thing just will drop off down to the floor, so you've got to hold on to it. Ideally, unless something's really wrong, it will drop off to the floor. It actually takes a bit more effort to pull this off. Okay. And with the shift and weight, the balance goes out, so I have to pull that back on. Okay, so we can I have opened this earlier before the video, and these are all the same, so they do fit, and I'm going to put 2 more on there. Well, that one's a bit odd, so why don't we just change all of them for 3 new ones, because you might as well have them all the same. This one here is slightly bigger and it's going to look a bit weird, so why don't we just do that. And we'll try and get this on here a little bit easier with a bit of spray on stuff. Oh gosh. Ah, that was better. Doesn't that look nice with that spaced out nicely? What I'll do is just change your position and put the bike on the ground so we can get some gravity assistance here. Okay, is that looking all right? Too much spring in my spring. So in this case, you can straighten up the handlebars and give it a little tap on the top as you can. Something that's not going to damage the aluminium. So that basically all makes sure the bearings are in place and locked in position. Might as well have a little look at them before you tighten it up. And you don't get any play in your headset if you've locked it in tight enough. And try for another different Allen key. That's not going to be annoying. Number 4 would be good, thank you. Got heaps of number 4s around. Okay. Oh, actually, that's the thing. That reminds me. the whole point of having a nut on the top is you don't really have to give it the bash with a big piece of lead, a heavy piece of lead like I've got here. You have the beauty of this, which is also number 4, and inside there is a little nut that allows you to tighten this down, and that's compressing everything down as long as these are loose. So I've loosened those 2 off. Yep, that's loose. And it's just, luckily I've got the front brake. You can wiggle it back and forth and feel the play. It's actually off centre there, isn't it? What's going on here? Let's have another look. That should be centralised by default. I don't see why it wouldn't be. It's just not loving that, is it? Slightly crooked. Steel punch, and let's bang it down a little bit on this side, because we'll never draw it up on the other side. Violence is my middle name. Good. Okay, job done there. Cool, well, riding on the back of my success with the stem there, adjustment, why don't we charge on ahead and try and fit on this brand new disc brake caliper. Now, anyone want to guess what size Allen key they need here? Oh, I was going to say number 4, but it's number 5. Okay, good fun. This has got some adjusters and little different parts, putting it on the back of the bike here, so I don't think we need this arm. Let's go forward and undo that. Basically got 2 bolts holding this other. Basically, you've got this adjuster arm, multiple washers to, because this is a generic brake caliper, it's got to be able to shift up and down so that the brake pads can fit perfectly on the brake disc there. So I think we just need to take off that adjuster arm. And just undo both of these, and carefully, not losing any of the washers onto the carpet. See if we can just slip it on carefully. Oh, they're long. Okay, there's long bolts. Okay. So, what the heck would that be for? A different bike, I'd say. And let's have a look. Don't we take off some of these washers? Oh yeah, they're just general locator washers. So can I just fit on there? Oh, and it would help if we put it the right way around. Let's see if that looks like it's central on the disc. Well, I don't think we need any washers in there. We hold that and spin the wheel. Only the fact that the rotor itself is a bit bent is annoying. So we'll have to give it the bash, but otherwise I think these washers can just be, these bolts can just be tightened on. Very nice. Let's see. I do want to put a little bit of grease on them though, because we always need to undo. Sound of grease gun pumping. Sound of man walking back. So we'll just put a little bit of grease on each of the threads. And in the future, we can pat ourselves on the back as we easily undo the bolts and change the caliper. But very important not, of course, to put grease anywhere near the rotor or the disc pads, because lubrication and brakes do not go together. Even on a caliper bike, you don't want to put any grease lubrication on the rim or on the brake pads themselves, because you instantly lose any traction. So it's definitely a number 5, isn't it? Now I think it might have to go out a little bit, and we'll go both out. Okay, this is on its maximum outwards adjuster, so we'll tighten that one a little bit. Then we will true up the rotor by noting where it comes in contact. It's only going that way, so we can tap this little puppy over slightly. Doesn't help if the wheel rim is rubbing on a rag up by the seat. Okay, so we've got a touch there, this side, and we have a touch, just slight touch there on this side, so that's cool. That means we equally have equalized the bend in the rotor, so we can go along there and tighten that, straighten it up a bit. And the way you do that, which I've never done, but it seems clear enough to me. Now those two are nipped up. We could actually test it. Shall we see if it works? There we go. Very nice. Can you hear that? So you just tighten the, adjust the rotor. If you have any shimmy in your, as you're braking, you feel a kind of a, you know that you've got a worn out brake rotor. Oh wow, that actually worked quite well. Riveting videos. Just do a bit more around it as well.
Let's go.
It's not really touching. Okay, I think we fixed that one. Yep, okay, I'm going to say that's fixed. Now, we can get a cable in here and hook up a brake lever, so I'll be back in a minute. Well, this princely brake lever is what I have to deal with in the shop here, and it has seen better days. There's a bit of rust going on, and we might need to just, look at that. That's a pretty rusty bolt. We might replace a few bolts here, including that one. How about that one? And deal with a bit of the rust inside on this, where the wire actually goes through the cable. On second thoughts, why don't we just replace these bolts with some clean, good bolts that we know are not rusty and horrible. Will we get it from here? I don't think so. That's better. Now these were just bright bolts before, so we might as well put them in the same. That looks about right. And we have another one we need, which we need a screwdriver. What I was afraid of. It's all totally rusted. Have to punch that one out too. Because I don't really want that. That's a pretty rusty, horrible thing. Although, being rusted in there, it's not going to go anywhere, is it? Beast here.
Let's go.
Why don't we try that again? Right, wrong one. A lot of downwards pressure. Not feeling the love with that one. And we've broken the spring in the middle here. So that's no longer a great working item. this is actually quite a deep nut that is still basically working as it should. So I'll apply the grease to the end of the bolt. That's going to be doing the work. And now we will need some packing out washers for this, so we're not going to be pushing the head of our bolt into there. So I think I've got a whole set of washers, and if you pray for them to be the correct size, let us see. Washers. That's not washers. Okay. Let's get a similar bolt. Darn it, it's not quite big enough. The problem is that would have fit in there quite nicely,
Let's go.
but it doesn't fit. It doesn't do the job on the inside. So my next port of call would be a nut that is perfectly sized to go on here and act as a washer. It's going to do the acting thing. Put that going there. That's nice, except that's a bit smaller. That's too big to go in there now. Probably need a couple, and if I grind off the corners, that would work.
Let's go.
Do 2 of those in there, and I round off all these edges. Right, why don't we try that? Let's put this on. That will just be locked down onto it, and that goes in there perfectly. Our bearing surface will be down inside. Yep, that's working. Right. It doesn't look the nicest, but this actually would be good to completely change with another screw if we can, because that's a prime candidate for... Actually, we don't really need that. No one ever adjusts their brakes outwards so that it's a smaller hand. You just reach out and grab your brakes because you want to stop your bicycle from hurtling down a hill, don't you? Get all that grease out of the inside of the clamp part. Already that's looking beautiful. Ideally we would change that one, to be honest. But how to do it? With an impact driver. If only I had an impact driver. Should we try it? Okay, so we have one of these puppies. and depending which way you want it to go, ear protection.
Let's go.
Okay, let's see if we've done anything. Apart from shred the thread a bit more. No. More impact. More impact. One more try, and then I think we're going to have to give up on that one and leave it. Give it a little grind on top to get the rust off, but otherwise, shite. See what we've just done there? We've just broken that. Oh, whoops. With the impact driver. Look what's happened. Oh, shite. That is crap, isn't it? I think that was probably a week before we even started, so let's throw that out. Oh, we could save a few things off here.
Let's go.
Could save that. A lot of drama has just happened in the meantime when you were not here. I found two salvaged brake calipers from another bicycle that I had lying around. So we're going to use one of those instead. And they're much better condition for us. This is a constant cable casing from here. It just clips onto here, through here, and ends here without any wires in between. And that would be a problem if I didn't have this big long cable casing that I've salvaged from another bike. So let's get this on here. Unfortunately, I can't use... Oh, I can actually use that. Wow, look at that. So I can take this cable completely out of here. It's the same exact... It's a mountain bike type cable with a cylindrical end on it there. So I will pop that out and we'll see if we can just pop this in with a new brake caliper over here as well. Something goes our way sometimes. Okay. So that's perfect. And then we just have to feed this back on here. And what's a critical thing in that is that this is not frayed. And it isn't. So we're in luck. We could also do my thing, which I like to do, is spray lubrication down, especially if this is a second-hand one, till it just drips out the end once. There we go. Now the whole thing is ready for continuous future braking, smooth braking. A rusty one. Do that up nicely. Now, can we see how this goes?
Let's go.
The cable casing. I need a wide angle on this, don't I? And as we go under here, cable casing then comes into here. We might have to trim it, but actually we still need a little bit of looseness at this end. So you don't want to be halfway up a mountain and twisting your handlebar and having tightening up on you. So that's pretty good. What we've got going on over here What I'll do is just put this cable in and we'll actually test the brakes, because we don't have to clip this on just to test the brakes. Woohoo! This is actually, famous last words, going okay. Still number 5. That's my number 5. Number 5, loose, L-shaped. I just realised why they call them Allen keys. Now I'm going to have to take this quite far off. Oof. Just watch that. I got a little bit of lubrication on the disc. We can always degrease it later. Get down into there. Go and see how that's working. So, brake cable bears on that as a shoulder. Then, as you come in, cables straight over the top, and I'll just make sure this cable's seated up at the lever, seated nicely in. Okay, we undo it. We adjust the barrel, should be all the way undone, so that as we pull and adjust this brake lever at our end, brake caliper, got some adjustment later on. So that's all the way shut. Why don't we just tighten this up here? We've got a little adjuster barrel here too. So got a lot of adjustment. If it's a bit tight, then that's a good thing. I've got adjustment up at the handlebar. Right, so that's clamped off now. Let's see what happens when I spin the wheel and then put the brakes on, just as a, see what happens. There we go. Now I'll get a tightener. Now I'm actually still got some, I might just loosen this up, tighten it up a little bit, pull the cable through a bit more because I've got so much adjustment on this. It's just not funny. You know, what's what I want is something about like that, because I want to be able to loosen this barrel off up here. Got quite a lot of adjustment through here with the adjuster barrel, so why don't we just bring that in a bit. Still a little bit more. And then if they do seat and need to be tightened later, you've got that adjustment to play with. So that can go even more. And I'm not really a fan of putting this, relying on the thread of this aluminium thing going into this plastic part. Because if you suddenly need your brakes and it jumps a thread inwards, that's not exactly ideal. Crikey. Okay, we still need to go in a bit more. We do have infinite adjustment on at the caliper, so I'm not that worried, but ideally this is all taken up and the brakes are adjusted perfectly. Still got some more. doing it with a tool is not, you don't get the feeling for it. So yeah, that's still moving, so that's good. Okay, feel that? Beautiful, and we can go in a little bit with our adjustable barrel down here. Loving it. This bike is now in possession of 2 working brakes. One hydraulic front brake, strong as, but needs adjusting, and one very nice rear brake. But what I'll do now is make sure it's all clipped up on these clips. Zip ties are us around here. And this is actually not even an aftermarket thing to do. They came like this. Okay, so that is that one. We've got another one under here. And I'm gonna just leave it on the, yep, that's how it goes. We've got 1, 2, 3 more, so we'll get 3 out. Four more. And one more over here. Very cool.
Let's go.
Go that way and that way. Very nice. Okay, nice. Right, people. While you were not here, I have put on the right shifter, which goes all the way up to 1 from 8, and that involved me taking off this brake lever. And I've also shifted this brake lever over a little bit so that we can install these beautiful, well, I'll clean them up, but near new grips, rubber grips. The front derailleur will be controlled by this, which is a shifter that I've had off another bike, and it actually isn't for the left side, but that's all I've got to work with. And all it needs to do is haul a cable back and forth to change the front cogs. So that should be all right, and just be a little bit of learning how to do it. And you probably won't even need to shift that one very much, because this is actually one of these little trick jump bikes, so pump bikes. So it doesn't really have much of a, it's got a very small chain ring at the front and an even smaller one, so that you can go over little obstacles and things. So we'll get the brand new chain and the cluster on the back, and we'll put a little cable, 2 cables from both gear shifters down to the derailleurs. That's coming up next, people. Okay. You will remember the past video where we totally cleaned this derailleur up and gouged out all the dirt from it. This brand here does match the brand of shifter we've got, but I'm wondering how in all blazes this goes on here. I'm pretty sure that must go down in there, and then this must bolt onto here somehow. So I'm really never done that before. Let's try it. Oh yep, there we go. It's always a good idea to just grease these.
Just ran out of battery on my microphone, but this is the cat looking on as I try and put this bolt into the derailleur with greasy fingers, and let's just hope it doesn't fall on the ground. Anyway, when the bolt in finally using an Allen key, and that worked nicely. And I just wanted to explain on this bike how the derailleur is set up as a separate system completely. Some bikes have a dropout that is welded onto the base of the frame here, and it just pokes straight down. But the problem being, if you hit it and it bounces inwards, you have misaligned the derailleur, so the gear shifting is not happening any smoothly anymore. So you have to take it off and rebend that dropout back, basically towards the outside of the bike. Well, with this one, it's a completely replaceable derailleur, so you don't have the issue of your dropout cracking or any structural damage to the frame. So basically, we'll get this bike chain on and the cluster on, and we'll see if that alignment is good with the derailleur. It's the only way we can test it. Okay, see you soon. Okay, so we've got this cluster here, a second-hand cluster, and what I'm going to do is just clean this up. I've wired it together so I don't lose the parts here, but I do have to count the sprockets to make sure, because we have an 8-speed shifter, so we need 8 sprockets on here. You might notice in the background the brand new cluster on the bench, and we'll basically be looking at that later, but not to worry. At the moment I've counted the cogs and I know there's 8 of them, so I'm just going to go through and wire brush, get most of the dirt and road deposits off these cogs. The smallest one there that we are dealing with is the quickest to wear out, because it has, logically speaking, you've got more wear because it's only got fewer teeth. But that's cleaning up quite nicely anyway. We've got a second cog up, which I clean up off camera a bit more. You don't need to sit through all that. But now we'll wire brush the actual main cluster, which is all pinned together. And this basically gets a lot of the built up crust and dust, which is caused by dirt from the road, but also when you lubricate your chain, the lubrication can attract the dust and dirt as well and start depositing on there. Now I'm considering using this cluster. It is from a road bike, so the lowest speed, the largest cog, is not as large as this one, but we don't really need it because the jump bike has a smaller chain rings as well. Now I'm just going through the process of, I would need to put this one single cog on because as a road bike, it's the cogs themselves are closer together. Anyway, the only way you can try these out is to fit them onto the bike and see if they work. Now you just have to line up the largest gap with the large gap on the cog, and that slips right on. There's only one way it can go on. We'll count them up. There's 7, and I have to just put one more on, which would make 8 in the changer, the shifter. And as you can see, the gap is too large for the 8, so we can't use this. We're going to have to go back to our original, which is, boom, there it is. So we, if you can imagine, the cogs are slightly millimeters more separated, so you can fit that little cog on, and then the final highest gear, which is the smallest cog. Now these fit on perfectly, allowing you to put on the nut. And the way to put on this nut is to actually, the best way is to wind it backwards. So I better hold this cluster, wind it backwards until you hear or feel a slight click, and then you know you've got it in place, so you can screw it all the way up. Otherwise you could strip the thread or cross thread the thread, so you don't want to really do that if you can help it. The same applies for all other screws. If you in your life, if you ever put some screws into something and it already has a hole, threaded hole, go backwards until you hear a slight click or feel it. Usually it's a feeling, a slight click. So to tighten this up, it doesn't need to be overly tight, you just have to make sure it doesn't come off. And it's indexed, so as you tighten it up it goes click, 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 click. You can actually see it happening. Do a couple more clicks and that's enough. We don't need to overly tighten that, and the thread can't take it anyway. So put the quick release back on. We might be able to try this on the bike. Now we'll just let the weight of the frame of the bike drop this onto the axle, and we'll tighten up this quick release. Now you can see what I'm talking about with the alignment here, starting to show that the derailleur is slightly off in the alignment. It's angled inwards because some impact has happened in the past. Anyway, the only way we can find out is to put the chain on, and then just checking that this is an 8-speed chain, and that relates to the thickness, the width of the chain. So if you have a 5-speed chain, it's too thick, it won't actually run into the cogs. And if you have a 10-speed chain for a cluster with 10 rings in the cluster, that's too thin, and you're actually, it would work, but you're spending more money. It's more expensive. You don't need to spend that money. And actually the thinner chains arguably don't last as long because they are made of thinner materials. Now the ultimate aim of what I'm doing here is fitting the chain, and it has to accommodate for both low and high gear ratios. Chains will come extra long, and usually you have to take about 3-4 links out, and in this one I'm actually going to take 4 links out. Now I've got this chain wired up so that there's no tension on it as I use my chain breaker to push the pin in and link the chain up. Unfortunately my pin's facing the rim direction, which really I should have taken this chain all off again and turned it around, because it turned out to be quite a mission to have the Allen key poking through the spokes. But I didn't do that. Live and learn. Here I am trying to thread my arm through the frame to get this Allen key in here. Learning experience. And after a little bit of fighting it, the pin slips through the link, and then another quarter of a turn. Keep checking your pin to make sure you haven't overdriven or underdriven it. Quarter turn more and that'll be enough. It's always a little bit stiff as you've just linked the chain there, so what I do is grab a couple of pairs of pliers and wiggle back and forth just very gently, ever so gently, to encourage the steel to release again. And the only other pair of pliers I have here are some side cutters, which not ideal, but still, let's just wiggle it a little bit. That's all we need. And just to encourage it a little bit more, let's spray some lube on it. Cool. Now with the working of the chain through the gears, that'll loosen up over time. It's good to actually come through. And we don't need our little chain tensioner anymore. now we have the chain on, we can start looking at two things: alignment of our derailleur and how the chain is basically the final adjustment of the gears on the cluster. We don't need them slipping off either at the small cog or slipping up over and hitting our spokes. So I'm just looking at it now. The whole thing obviously needs to go outwards again because it's hit an impact. It's quite common, you lay the bike over or you crash or hit a stump and it hits the derailleur, and that golden piece there is the dropout, which is actually bent. So we'll undo this main Allen key bolt, which is different to the one we screwed it onto the frame with, and we'll let our derailleur dangle down onto the chain, and what we'll be left with is that golden dropout, which is a separate dropout to the frame, as I was explaining earlier. Just ever so gently, don't put any tension on the thread as you're pulling it out. And now we can see the condition of that. We'll let it dangle down there while we deal with this golden part. And if you look straight down the frame, you can see it's dipping in too far. We need to push it out that way. There's actually two directions that we need to pull this out, and I'll show you in a sec. Let's get this chain up out of the way, and actually I'm going to use a larger spanner than this in a minute. The larger spanner has a flatter teeth and more leverage. Let's get this chain up and we'll try. Just requires me manually pulling it up because I can't use the gears for that. Now if you can see this, oh, that's better. I better get this right up out of here. Okay, so with the bigger spanner you can see that it's obvious which way you need to go, and a little bit more maybe. If you go, there we go, and it's pulled outwards and straight up and down. There is a tool you can use to test the straightness of the dropout, but I don't have that tool. But it's clear from just eyeballing it, it needs to be twisted in the other axis as well. So we'll give it a little nudge this way, and you'll see it just pull. That's all you need. And the only way we can test it is to bolt this derailleur back on and go through multiple adjustments with the screws, and I'm going to bring that chain back down, I think. Duplicate up our little bolt hole. Okay, we won't bring the chain back down. Just as long as that bolt's aligned with the hole, especially with these, because that dropout is aluminium, so it's softer steel, softer material than steel. So now I've got everything back together, straightened up. What we need is to make sure the chain doesn't drop off, like I was saying before, so there's adjuster screws for that. You just do a little bit of adjustment, get everything running smoothly. You can hear it and you can see it, so rely on your ears and your eyes for this. There's a screw that that one there, just spraying our lube on, that is keeping the derailleur too far away from my cluster, so I really want to unwind that, loosen it right off, and actually you can see it loosening as I unscrew this. My head in the way. A adjust and test, adjust and test. And I'm just going to pull the chain up to the larger sprocket on the front chain ring. And you can see how that chain just tightened up a bit. The derailleur jockey wheel dropped down. And I'm not too satisfied with that screw again. Let's unscrew that more just to get that top jockey wheel closer to the cluster. It allows for a greater engagement of gears in response. And I'm trying to get that chain all the way to the top cluster cog, and it's just not working because all that is the adjuster screw, the stop screw is in too far. So let's just undo that. Let's undo that screw quite a lot. And great success, we've got it up to the top, but now it might not be quite enough. Got it all the way up to the top, that's better. Now we can undo it another quarter of a turn, and in the end I was happy with that. Now we're going to screw the other stop screw after a little bit of investigation with our light, with our torch. I think we need to just see where the stop screw is. You can actually look down and see where the stop screw lands. And I've just tightened that up another quarter of a turn, and I want to make sure the bike runs nice and free, both in the low speed, and it's luckily enough we've got the dropout straight, perfectly straight, perfect enough for now, and there's no clicking and there's nothing visually going wrong, so I'm quite happy. We've just changed to the larger chain ring on the front, and look how smoothly that's going. Got a good tension on this chain, so I think for now we've got the back derailleur working. We just need a front derailleur, and that'll be for the next video. See you guys.